Are you an entrepreneur or are you just self-employed? That's the question we're going to look at right now. Look, earlier this week, I'd met up with a friend of mine who I had done some work with going back 22 plus years, and we were discussing various different aspects of his business and my business. I had a particular challenge, he had a particular challenge. We came together on one particular thing that could work, and he offered a solution just like that. And you know what? That reminded me of conversations that I used to have with the very first person that I used to buy calculators from many years ago in my very first business. And that particular guy was a big thinker too. And it always impressed me that I would say such and such and he would come back saying, well, here's how you can do blah, blah, blah. And I think, wow, that's amazing. How did he come up with that? Well, he'd flown all around the world, he'd done this and he'd seen this and he'd seen that. And he was dealing with all these big numbers and big suppliers. And I guess that's the case here with my friend that I connected up with earlier in the week. He had a perspective of, tens of thousands of different people and database solutions and so forth that came from a completely and utterly different perspective that I had at the time. But because of all of those connections, he was able to join the dots very quickly and say, here's how we're going to solve it. Let's try this. And okay, he was putting that into his diary right then and there. And I was saying, right, great, I'm ready for this. All I have to do is ... and that, and we're already set. And that leads me to ask, in another conversation that I had during this week was with someone who was just merely looking at saying, how do I get this business idea off the ground? And it was a very valid question. It was how to validate that particular business idea. Now, looking at it from my perspective, I threw back an idea saying, well, what if you tried this, this, and this, and you could turn that from not just one particular thing here, which could make you $1,000, to something that could make you maybe $10,000 a month or more, just by doing this particular type of activity. What do you think of that? My perspective was different to the problem at hand, and you could have gone down the track that this particular friend was going down, and it would have only produced this much of a result. But when you bring in a different set of eyes and a different perspective from another person, they might be able to see it different from you, particularly if they've been in business a bit longer. They might have a different angle to it. And secondly, they might be able to say, hey, here's how we can get this going straight away. And sometimes that's what we need to do if we're going to be in business, is we need to be big thinkers. Big thinking really has a powerful way of improving your business. Big thinking, yes, it can be risky, yes. But if you don't take those risks, that's what entrepreneur is all about. Being an entrepreneur is taking risks. It isn't being little tiny business, just let's do it cautiously, let's see if we can just go there a little bit. No, it's taking a risk and saying, okay, what can we do right now, and how can we get there in such a way that might even be painless. It might be a case of the problem that we need solved is already solved somewhere over there. All we need to do is speak to a person there and say, how did they do it? Well, how do they do it, and how can I do it? And that's all you need to ask. So, if you've got a particular problem, an issue, step back a little bit, look at who all of your contacts are and say, who among them can I contact and have a conversation with? And do it really quick. See if you can do it this week. Don't wait another month or something. See who you can meet up with this week. Get those conversations started. Quicker the better. Another thing is to write down what some of those things could potentially be and say, well, who do I know who has already got some kind of leverage, some kind of a track record in this area or similar? It doesn't have to be your exact business. You might be trying something totally new, I don't know. But something that's sort of similar vein, or there could be parallels out there. You talked before about parallel universe. Some businesses are similar. And find similarities in your business, in somebody else's business, and say, well, they've got an idea here, and there's not much difference between what I'm doing and what they're doing over there. And if I copy that idea, maybe I could get this to work. And that wouldn't necessarily be stealing something. No, because you're saying, here's a successful concept, here's how it could work for me. All I have to do is just make a few tweaks and off we go. We're already ready set and I can get this working and the cash can start coming in now. Okay, if you do have any fears or worries or anything like that, will this work, will that work? Yes, there will always be that case. And yes, it will never ever be perfect. But it'll never be perfect if you don't move forward and try something. It'll never be perfect if you don't find out now what it is in the process of organising that solution, and then all of a sudden you get that aha moment and say, here's how I solve this little tiny area over here, and bang, screw in a different bolt, and it works. So you won't know unless you start some action and get going and see what you can do between, say, the start of the week, right now, or this weekend, and then bang, what can I do by Friday? How quickly can I get this happening? Let's put a deadline to it. Let's get this solved. You know what to do. Like and subscribe. This is David Newton speaking.